All right, we're going to get started. I'm going to share my screen back to, we were talking before class here about the next portion. You know, we've got one of the parts of your manual, your department manual is the final draft that we're going to put together at the end. The first thing that's going to be turned in, and y'all say it's due today, is that correct? I haven't checked. Tonight by midnight is your comprehensive program. So an overview of your department, that's important. Give your facility a name, that's important. Now give me like a vision statement, a mission statement. You can find examples of those. Don't copy one straight up, make it fit like the group that you want to work with. Tell me your, you know, the demographics of who you want to work with at your facility, you know, as far as their ages, what type, you know, are you going to be working with people with spinal injuries? Is it going to be a wide variety of people with developmental disabilities? Is it going to be for elderly? Is it going to be for people who were wounded in battle? I mean, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Tell me who you're going to be working with. Okay, so now we're a third of the way through. The nature and severity of their disabilities. What do you see as their potential for independent living? And the goals of the agency. You can look up like agency goals too, just like the vision statement, the mission statement, and like a goal statement, okay? Then you tell me about like where it's located, demographics of the community. You know, this is going to be located in rural Oklahoma, you know, whatever. Tell me where you're going to be, demographics of the community. That includes how big a town, if it's in a town, if it's, or if it's in the woods somewhere, tell me that. Tell me how many clients would be served by your agency. What kind of state or federal regulations might cover the facility. And that would be looking up things like, you know, if you're in a hospital setting, you have something, you know, a thing called Joint Council of Accreditation of Hospitals, JCAHO. Like there's different, I call them the watchdogs. So, you know, like who's going to check up on your facility, depending on what type of facility you have, you need to look to say who would be overseeing this. Remember now, this is a first draft too. So if something's missing and I notice it, I mean, this is worth 50 points. If you miss some little portion, now I'm not telling you to half-ass it tonight when you turn this in. I'm telling you to do the best you can. But if you miss some little part, I'll let you know and you can fix it. And it's by the time you turn in your department manual, you all should get 100 for that if we go through this process the way that we're supposed to do it, okay? So any deductions are going to be on these ones that you turn in. So if you give me effort, you're going to get most of your points. Okay, don't care how long, but it needs to be long enough to cover what's there. What else? Identify the other departments that would exist in the facility. We've talked in our TR classes about, you know, other professions that we work with. You know, is this going to be just a recreation therapy facility just for recreation therapy? Or is it going to be all-inclusive type facility, like say NMRC, and you have nursing and you have, you know, physicians and you have social workers and you have dietitians? You know, just tell me who else you would need to collaborate as far as allied professions. Okay. I tried to put on glasses in my last class because I was going to try something novel and be able to see what I was talking about while I was talking, but it didn't work. They fogged up immediately. The philosophy of the program, that all kind of goes along with, you know, the vision and mission and all that stuff. Departmental goals and objectives, same thing. They kind of fit in with vision and goal. It's all almost interchangeable. Just look up, like say, examples of business goals or things like that. You can go. Yeah, websites. See, that's where you're going to find, because that's kind of what you're putting together. Almost like a front page of a website that gives you, this is who we are. This is what we provide. These are who we serve. This is where we're located. And all the stuff that I just said is in this first one. So, and we'll get to eventually where you'll actually put what you're saying, you're going to build like almost like a website or a flyer for your facility, because there's going to be marketing comes in toward the end. And then I asked you for like an organizational chart for the facility and department. So like if there's a CEO that's above you, but like make me like a little flow chart if you can, like CEO, and then you are the director of recreation, and you're going to have recreation therapists, break down kind of like a tree. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way to show it. So yeah, it's not going to be one paragraph that you're going to get this done in. I would say it would be a minimum of 2 or 3 pages, just off the top of my head, just to give me enough to show me that you cared when you were doing it. You know, it shouldn't be too hard. No. Like I say, you can find. She made a great point. Get on the web. It's there. It's accessible. You can find examples of a lot of these things, and you can tweak it to meet. You know, first thing you need to do is say, this is the type of facility I want to have. This is the name that it wants to be. And now you have a direction, and then you can start looking for things that are similar to that and find some things to kind of gauge your mission and vision and goals and objectives. Now, when it says goals and objectives on here, don't tell me goals and objectives for clients. You know, we're not there. We're talking about for your facility. Our overarching goal is to serve in a positive manner and make them, make everyone feel welcome and leave better than they came. And objectives would be a couple ways that you think that you can reach that goal, just like goals and objectives work for our patients. Does that make sense? Y'all got that? Y'all good on that? We can talk more about the next one at a later time. You'll have a couple weeks to get it in. And like I say, next Thursday, we're going to work on it together in here is the plan. I do have a guest speaker coming at some point. When she comes, I really want y'all to be here if you can. It's going to be Katie Kowalski from the Oxford Treatment Center. And y'all have had classes with Presley and Maya Ledbetter. I think y'all have had them. You may not know the names, but I'm pretty sure y'all had classes with them. They did internships out there. And she offered to come out here and talk about what they offer as far as internships, because she's looking for interns. And it's actually a relatively close location, and they do a really, really good internship experience as far as preparing you for CTRS, if that's something that you want to do. So she's going to come talk to us at some point, and she's going to talk about, they're a substance abuse facility. So you'll learn all about, how to deal with it, because that's something that we haven't talked a lot about. She's also going to talk about leading groups. That's one of the big things they do, is they lead group activities. We've done some of that in our classes. We haven't, stressed it necessarily, but she'll talk about leading group activities and how that's important and how they work with people with substance abuse issues. So I'm going to stop this share, and we're going to jump now to, did I share it or not? Share screen. This one, I want to make sure that it's shared. All right. So now we're going to talk about, we've talked about some already about how technology changes all the time and how research needs to be going on. Now, when I say research, you're not necessarily doing research like they do in the exercise science labs over here. We're talking about seeing, how can we do better? How well are we doing right now? How can we delineate whether or not what we're doing is the best we can do? You're researching to see how well you're doing. So there are some things here. There, informatics, and we've seen a lot of changes. Let me pull out my notes real quick through the years. But what it's all about is information technology. And what has the big change been in information technology or documentation for us in rec therapy through the years? Yep, it's gone from pen and paper and folders to being online and being computerized. So The management of information technology, IT, is referred to as informatics. So you got to have someone, you know, when you think about your facilities, you got to think about documentation, and you really need to, it wouldn't be a bad thing to stick something in there about having someone who's able to troubleshoot computer issues, because you have to do documentation. Just a little mental note on that. They design systems that deliver the right information about the right person. It has the right place and time, and in the right way, the most efficient way. So they're good at putting things together like that. That's their whole being. You know, it needs to be readable. It needs to be easy to follow. You know, in your informatics, you want it to be those things. If it's a marketing strategy, you want it to be eye-catching. You know, something that's going to grab your attention. Just like a commercial, you want, some commercials really grab you, some don't. You want your informatics to be the same way. So they come up with a technology plan, and it's forward looking, which that is already stated by the word plan. You know, when you're making a plan, you're thinking ahead. So it's the forward looking strategic plan for the organization's technology needs. What do we need to do here in the future, to improve our technology resources, what we have? Usually, in a lot of cases, there's a committee that would sit and discuss something like this, because you need people chiming in from different directions. The purpose of a technology plan is to support achievement of the organization's mission and goals. And we talked, that's going to be in your thing that you turn in. You know, what this is all about, you're streamlining your process. You're trying to help your consumers through using the proper technology that they can understand, that they can use. That's important for it to be usable. If it's something that your clients are going to be using and they don't understand it, what good is it? You know, as far as technology. We use technology to put out information. We use technology for marketing. You know, where does a ton of marketing take place now? Absolutely, social media. Other day, I thought about buying vitamins. I got on Facebook and I had an ad for vitamins. I'm telling you, it's just about that bad, y'all. They in your head or something. I don't know. I tell you for sure, if you look up like on Google, like if you get on Amazon or something, and then go on Facebook or somewhere, that's all you gonna. Every 4 things on your page is gonna be an ad for that. So you know, it's. I know isn't that weird now? It's they going too far. We're gonna have to stand up. We'll get a plan for that together. Okay, this class is gonna take this world back. All right, telehealth. This is very in the current situation, very prevalent. Why? Yep, COVID. You know, something we've seen out of COVID is people have been, you know, there's been a lot of COVID deaths. You know what there's been what other kind of deaths are attributed to COVID? Deaths of, well, number 1, people that get depressed from sitting around. There's been more suicide. Number 2, people aren't going to the doctor for their regular, like, annual checkups and things, because they're scared of COVID and knowing that the waiting room is probably full of people with COVID. So they're not going for their checkups. They're not going to the dentist. They're not doing these things that they usually do. So you're having people that are ended up with like advanced cancer that would have been caught earlier. That's a big drawback of what's happening right now. Now telehealth ain't gonna, you know, you can't draw blood through telehealth, but you can have an honest conversation with a practitioner. You know, if you're talking about it's valid in today's society, and COVID really makes that come to the forefront to me. It's electronic and telecommunication technologies that support long distance clinical healthcare, patient health related education. That can happen online. I mean, it'd just be like me having a Zoom class with you guys. It wouldn't be telehealth, but it could be like telelearning, you could say. I could get on there, pull up a PowerPoint, just like for the ones who aren't here today. It's, health related education can be done through telehealth, long distance. You can get professional health related education. Public health uses telehealth, and then health administration can also be done using telehealth. There are people right now that are using telehealth more than ever, and some places are really pushing that as their main focus of how, in the medical world, of how they want to provide services. We offer telehealth. That's one of their big things they put up front, that they want people to know that that's an option. Number one, they don't have as many people in their office. Number two, they're able to reach some of those people and maybe cut out some of those unnecessary sicknesses that are going on, by getting information from them electronically, through telehealth. Dashboard report. Anything come to mind when you think about dashboard report other than the lights that come on in your car when you turn it on? I got one on right now, telling me to change my oil. Yeah, I know, it's time. Have y'all seen the where they post the Ole Miss COVID numbers? They do that sometimes. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I get something called the COVID dashboard. It's out to like if you typed in University of Mississippi COVID dashboard, it would pull up an easy to read graphical presentation of the current status of an organization's performance indicators, which right now here in this case would be what's our COVID numbers look like, what amount of quarantine space is available in dorms, how many cases, active cases we have, how many, it has all these stats. It's put together, it's easy to follow, and it is a dashboard report. Easy to read. It doesn't usually necessarily have a graph, but it has all the information there. And it says where we stand on, it even had on there, I think the last time I looked, it had something, it tells how much like cleaning supplies are still available for the university. How many hand sanitizer stations are available to be put out. I mean, they're looking at things like that. This is our all-encompassing plan, and this is where we stand. We have these materials available. We have this space available. This is our numbers. And, I'm on the contact tracing squad, so I know pretty much how the ebb and flow goes. I'm wondering in the next day or two what's going to happen from the home football game we just had, whether I'm fixing to get snowed under or not. We shall see. Outdoor events aren't generally nearly as bad, but people up at the concession stands coughing on each other's neck. The Grove too, head just you bumping each other. No, I walked over here with my mask like this, So yeah, the purpose of dashboard reports is simple. They present specific data. In this case, we're talking about the COVID dashboard. Did one of y'all look that up? I did. Did it pull up like I'm talking about? It have the kind of stuff I'm talking about? How many active cases did we have? Do you remember? Do it. I'm curious. I haven't looked at it in a while. But it's exactly what I'm talking about on here. It's okay. That's really not bad if you think about how many people are here and that we're back in. Yeah. How much quarantine space is that still on there? 96 is available. See, we're doing good right now. This is like, we're not in any sort of.
But you know what, this is about to get started. So it's probably gonna go.
I tell you what's happening too, because I talk to people who end up testing positive. You know, I talked to one today. I'm asymptomatic, but somebody in my family had it. So I just went and got tested. When I got my positive result, I went home to Madison to quarantine. You know, these folks are just going like home if it's close enough. They're not quarantining here in no dorm when they can go back home and have mama and daddy slide them some gourmet food under the door. And they ain't stupid. They might be sick, but they're not stupid. But as you see on that, it's exactly what we're talking about. Specific data presented in a simple, clear format that facilitates instantaneous and informed decisions. You can look at that and say, where does Ole Miss stand on COVID right now? And you get a pretty good indicator in 15 seconds looking at that. That's the point of a dashboard report. We talked about how electronic health records are a thing now. That's where everything goes. There's been resistance to it, especially when you've got folks that have been doing this for 30 years and all they've ever done is used paper reports and used filing cabinets. And they're resistant to it. We talked about how employees are going to be resistant, and you as a manager need to be able to say, hey, this is going to be good when we get it figured out. Now, you won't have to be picking up these heavy files, and you won't have to be bending down, Miss Bertha. Because everybody that works in health records is named Bertha, of course. Anyway, you know, you would have to use some of that we were talking about, where you paint the picture in a positive manner. You know, say, look, buy into this, give it a chance, it's going to work out. So what's in these electronic health records, it's a digital record of an individual's health history. It's going to include records from many locations and sources, such as hospitals, clinics, providers, and public health agencies. So it is basically all inclusive. Even that is almost kind of like the thing we were talking about, Facebook algorithm knowing what you're thinking about. All this stuff gets compiled on you. You've got this electronic file where they can find everything out about your health. But at the same time, say something happens to you and you are not able to respond, and your emergency contact can't be found or whatever. This electronic health record, they need a big full picture of your health situations. They need to know that you had a reaction to a bee sting 7 years ago. You know, if you show up and you're having like some kind of anaphylactic reaction, that might be what it's from. You can't speak for yourself. That's where it's a good thing. It's all digital. You're not having to fool with files. You're not having to fool with papers anymore.
Like the emergency medical card they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can put a ton of stuff in them. And it's, the thing about it that I don't understand right here is how all of your electronic health records are pulled together into from different places. What facilitates that, and who says get her records all, compile them, like somebody's
where is it all kept? What's holding it? Where is it?
cyberspace. Yeah. I honestly don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. I don't know where the main database for all these health records are kept, but it's in some strong governmental type, electronic system. I can tell you that with a good server that can handle that type stuff. HIPAA. What do we think of when we talk about HIPAA? There's one word that comes to mind for me.
Privacy.
Yep. You just said it. Privacy, confidentiality. That's against my HIPAA rights. There's been a lot of people yelling that about what? Lately. Vaccinations. And the question has come up, is it your employees? Does your employee have the right to ask you whether or not you have been vaccinated and to make decisions based on that? And the answer is yes, they do. In this case, like about the COVID vaccination, because how they're deeming that is they're calling it a public health crisis, basically, and your decision affects the people around you, so they have the right to know whether or not you have been. They're not asking you a bunch of other crazy questions, but they're asking, they do, if they push and they will ask you for that information, they do have the right to have it. I don't know if I fully agree with it or not. I don't know. You know, the whole vaccine thing is still, I'm still out on my decision on that, really. I mean, do I think that it's keeping people, okay, I'm off topic, I don't care. Do I think that it's keeping people from dying more than they would have if they don't have it? Yes, it's being shown that people who are vaccinated are doing better with it when they get sick. However, my problem with it is that the vaccine is, you can still catch it, you can still carry it. Your symptoms will be so mild a lot of times because of the vaccine that you'll pass it without knowing it. You're still just running around doing whatever because you don't feel very sick. So it can set you up to really spread it around because your symptoms aren't so bad. I don't know. And then also, if you look at the VAERS data, I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about or not. It's the vaccine adverse reactions to it. There's been, I don't know, the last number I saw was like 13,000 people, 13,000 and something people have died from the vaccine. From the vaccine. Now, millions and millions and millions of people have taken the vaccine. 13,000. If you get the vaccine, are you going to die? Probably not. If you get the vaccine, might you die? Yep. Therefore, to me, it seems I don't really agree with the amount of strong push and shaming. And I think when you have an opportunity to die from taking the vaccine, and it's been shown at this point that it's there, I don't think you should shame folks and that may not want to take it. Just saying, my opinion. Y'all might have a different opinion. Anybody have a different opinion that they'd like to share on that? I think that there's enough risk there that I think it should be a personal decision. And all they do is push, 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 take it. There has never been a vaccine in the history of Earth that they have given out that has had 13,000 people die from it, that they stopped one of them after like 13 people died. They were like, whoa, we can't keep giving this vaccine. 13 people died.
Like years for a vaccine to like actually work. Like they have to
there's some weird things about it too. Now they were working on this thing in like 2012 on like there's patents on coronavirus.
You know they arrested the man that sold the coronavirus to the people in China. Did you hear about that?
There's a whole lot of it's a crazy thing. They were here's part of the deal. They were working on mRNA technology, which is the thing that made this vaccine fast and different from others. They've been working on that for years. Now, if you look there is a patent for coronavirus out there. Like you could look that up. There is a patent for it, and it was before it came out. Dr. Fauci in, I think, 2017 said Donald Trump will have a major pandemic on his hands during his time. Fact, he said it.
But you know what's crazy? Every time something happened on a Simpson show, it really happened.
That's the truth right there. Another weird thing. Yeah.
I feel like
I do too. It's planned, and this has not come from no bat. This they can say a wet bat in a place. Did it? Somebody built this, unleashed it, made it in a way that it was going to mutate intentionally. I truly believe it. I think Americans were. I'm not blaming it on China. I'm blaming it on Americans who are 90% to blame for it. They were in on it. They were funding it. They were doing all this. Ooh, I'm off topic. What in the hell? Sorry, I'm about to get mad up here. Yeah, y'all, I got to take a deep breath over this vaccine stuff. But no, and like there was a, like I said, there's a patent for coronavirus. There was a patent for the vaccine, I'm pretty sure, prior to when it happened. Explain that. I mean, come on. Now, but then again, coronavirus is really just kind of like a strand of the cold and flu that was already around. Another thing, let's talk about this while we're off topic. Have y'all seen how many cases of the flu we had last year in comparison to the year before? I don't know the number, but we had like,
was it a lot?
Like 22 million cases of the flu in 2019. And then in like 2020, we had like 163 cases of the flu.
But you know, that's weird to me because it's like when the coronavirus came, all the other viruses like the flu, you don't even hear people
like
say,
the flu's gone, yo.
You know what I'm saying? Like this stuff is so weird. I never had the flu, you know, from wood.
Yeah.
Got the flu shot, and I know my friend when she took the flu shot, she said every year after this she kept getting the flu. I never had the flu, so I'm not getting the flu shot. My granny said you need to get the flu shot.
I've never had any issues from the flu shot. Now let me say this. Do y'all think I'm vaccinated or unvaccinated?
Probably vaccinated because they make you get vaccinated.
Well, my life was going to become so difficult, was my conclusion, that whether they, quote, forced me to do it or whether they made me start going to get tested weekly and paying my own way to get it done. I've had family members tell me that they weren't going to be around me if I wasn't vaccinated. I just went and got it. I was like, man, my life's going to suck so bad. If I don't get it, I might as well just go get it. And if it kills me, it kills me.
Right.
That's what happened to me. And I'm like,
they just beat me down, man.
I said, everybody's so scary. I wasn't even scared when
See, I'm not that scared of it either. That's the thing. But my family was a big thing in it, and it sucks and it's sad. And I've told them that too. Yeah, and I've got a strained relationship with several people in my family right now because I said, you made me go do something. Basically, you my own family now, you said that you were not going to be around me or my kids if I didn't go get vaccinated. That ain't your business whether me and my kids go get vaccinated. And we can wear a mask if you think that's going to keep you safe. And, you know, my thing, you got the vaccine, you're safe, right?
No.
Why I got to get it? You know, I mean, that's the thing that everybody goes on.
That was my thing. My dad got to argue about it. He was like, he was just vaccine. I'm like, but I can still get COVID with the vaccine. So
I know.
Like,
yeah, but your outcome would probably be better if you caught it. But I just think it should be a personal choice. I don't think it should be pushed this hard. I don't think it should be a nationwide propaganda to make everybody get it.
I had COVID before, and when I had COVID, I wouldn't have even known I had COVID if I didn't go get tested. If my roommate didn't have COVID. It's
so bad that you got to get tested to know whether you had it. But you better get the vaccine for it. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't mean I'm just mad about it because it affected my family. I wanted to see whether y'all thought I was vaccinated or not. I am vaccinated. I've got both things, but it's because Pfizer. Yeah. I started growing a tail a little bit, but it helps me wipe, so I'm good with it, you know. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I actually haven't had anything major. I'm gonna tell you, if anything, and this is me just throwing anything out there. My back has hurt more since I got the vaccine. I promise you, it has hurt more.
My allergies have gotten worse since I got the vaccine.
Yeah, I don't know how you tie those things together, but now I know somebody who's vaccinated, who's been on Wellbutrin before. Okay, that's like a calm you down medicine kind of. They've been on Wellbutrin before, taken it, been on it twice, been fine. They got the vaccine, they got put on Wellbutrin, and they broke out all over in hives. Now, this is the third time they've taken this medicine that they've never had an issue with before. What I think it does, I think this vaccine primes your immune system. It's just sitting there, before it was just kind of like, kind of just halfway. Now it's got its dukes up like this. It's ready to fight, like whatever. If something comes in and it doesn't recognize, it's ready to go. And I truly think that's why she broke out in a rash, because she hadn't took the vaccine. I mean, she's fine. It didn't hurt her, but I mean, she was covered up in itchy, just big stuff. What were you gonna say now?
No, I'm feeling lazy.
Really? I want to take a nap. I feel like I want to take a nap every day.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Like I'll be there at 5 in the morning. But I'm feeling lazy.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of, and I guess we're gonna see in 10 years what happens, really.
My ex-roommate said she got COVID vaccine. She says that after COVID, she doesn't feel like she has her full potential in function.
That's a long COVID symptom. They have, they call it long COVID, and it's fatigue, brain fog, things like that. Exactly what you're talking about. And then they smell different after some things. It's very crazy and interesting thing. Let's finish this chapter. Okay. Guys at home, I hope you've enjoyed our conversation. Now we're going to talk about HIPAA. It's the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. So know when that came to be. And what it did, it mandated that all healthcare billing to the federal government use standardized documentation. So they're looking for, this was big for Medicare and Medicaid, which is something that a lot of our patients, a lot of our clients we work with, their care is paid for by Medicare and Medicaid. And they had a big part in this whole thing about HIPAA. And yes, it does have to do with confidentiality as well. But they wanted healthcare billing to use standardized documentation where Medicare, Medicaid, other providers can, like if you're using, in one of the other classes we did abbreviation quiz. Remember doing the abbreviations? Y'all remember any of the abbreviations? Anyway, hopefully you do. The things like that, that's what we're talking about. They want them to use the same abbreviations that everyone's going to understand. That has part to do with it. And we're also talking about the fact of this, confidentiality is another part. High tech. Sounds like some shoes. Health information. Oh, here we go again. Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health Act. Y'all can look that up. You don't have to memorize it, but just know what it's about. It stimulates technology use in health and human service agencies. It was a push put out there for getting people to buy into, electronic health records and things like that. They want technology in health and human service agencies. Money is tied into that process, I can tell you. Don't you think? Technology is expensive. Somebody up above with some pull said, you know what? We need to form us a group and push technology, and they formed High Tech. So electronic health records, goals of HIPAA and high-tech legislation. So the two that we just talked about, they had legislation that went together, encourage meaningful use of electronic health records by healthcare professionals, all inclusive, as we said, and to achieve significant improvements in client care through technology. That's what it's all about. Electronic health records, when they're done the right way, how would they improve client care?
Well, in their whole entire medical history,
Quickly.
any pills they are already on, have taken.
Yep, you can find it quick. You have access to it. The patient has access to it. Any medical facility can get into your records, you know, like you say, who's holding it, all this stuff, but that everybody can grab a hold to. But it's true and it's there. If you're the quicker and more easily you can access the client information, the faster you can provide care, the better care you can provide, because you're making the right diagnostic tools, because you've got everything right there. Where sometimes if you're dealing with pieces of paper, you know, when I'm taking money and doing my money like that, sometimes two of them stick together, you know. Same thing happens with papers like in a file. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people miss things on paper. This puts it in a more concise, easy to read, easy to see situation right here. All right, so data security as far as electronic health records. You know, we talked about confidentiality being important. We need confidentiality to be there with health records. So how do we do this? Digital certificates. They contain information that they use to authenticate the identity of a person or organization sending or receiving data over the internet. You know, what is it, your IP address that they can track, like things like that? This is beyond IP address. This is a true way to find out your identity. Encryption. Conversion of data from the original form into a form that can't be understood except by the intended recipient with possession of an algorithm that unscrambles the data. And I'm talking about this is some smart folks doing this, y'all. Like if I opened it up, it would just look like, I'm sure y'all have opened some things on it, you know, before that have basically been encrypted. And it's a bunch of symbols and, you know, data points and things that you don't know. You can't read it and make anything out of it. But if you had the encryption software or the capability, you'd be able to read it, because it would unscramble all this stuff and turn it into something readable for you. That makes it where if the wrong person gets into these electronic health records, they can't just see it. It's going to be mumbo jumbo to them. It's going to look like a bunch of numbers and stuff. Firewalls, they're another thing. They're an electronic barrier between an organization's internal private data and operations and external public electronic data. They have some things that are open to the public, you know, like for people searching about their facility and things like that. And then obviously you're going to keep your internal records separate, you know, where the average person can't get to it. There's a firewall that keeps people from getting there. Now, hackers, they're getting better and better and better. They're hacking into oil pipelines. They're hacking into electricity. I mean, people are hacking into stuff. I mean, it's like a movie now. People hack into stuff just for fun, I think. But, you know, good encryption, good firewalls make it a lot harder. You know, and when you're talking about electric health records, they better have good protections. And then there's the backing up data and storing of data. And there's data repositories or warehouses for storing large data sets, particularly clinical or financial data. That's something I was going to say a minute ago. You know, that's something else you want behind the firewall, your financial data. If you're a corporation or a business, You don't want just anybody being able to click on your. Now, if you are Oxford Park Commission, for example, that's a city-owned business. All their records are open to the public. Like if you wanted to dig and find how much they have in the bank, you can find out. They can't put it behind a firewall, but you know, most companies can hide their financial data from the average person being able to see it, get it, and all that good stuff. Okay, something else that helps, and we've talked about this before, you know, this is about we've kind of gotten into the implementing research part of this chapter now. We've, you know, evidence-based practice does what? It saves us time, because what we're using, it's a problem-solving approach to the delivery of therapeutic recreation services that integrates the best evidence from research, things that we, you know, we've seen that this works or doesn't work, clinician expertise, and client preferences and values. When you put those things together, you can use, you are providing evidence-based practice. You have things to go by that you're using to do this. Yep, here we go. Sorry, it jumped too far. So some more things on evidence-based practice. The therapist applies the best scientific evidence to each consumer's unique situation to make clinical decisions. You base it on things that have happened in the past. It's evidence-based at that point. Integration of best research with clinical expertise of the therapeutic recreation service provider, and the client values and preferences. That's saying how we need to have them included with what they see as important, with what they want to do as far as recreation and, you know, taking part in their well-being. The goals for the therapist to provide the best possible program that's on the based on available evidence at hand is known to have the most desirable, intended, and meaningful outcomes. The best possible program that on the available evidence at hand is known. So you're looking to see what things have worked. If you're working with a patient with fibromyalgia, warm water aquatic therapy works. There's studies and studies and studies that have shown it. Okay, if that's a client that you're working with, I just saved you a lot of work right there. And there's tons of things that you can do to back it up. Indicators are based on standards of practice. They're derived from literature, experts, and use of effectiveness evidence and research results. So when people are successful, they write this down, it becomes evidence at that point that you can use to say, this is why we should do this. Or if they failed, this is why we should not do this. Some critical questions you need to ask when you're talking about evidence-based practice. You got to define the unique role and function of therapeutic recreation services through evidence-based practice. So you want to ask, how do we know what we do is effective? That's important. How can our practice and services be improved? So now we're back in thinking managerial terms now. You're wanting to get the most out of your people. You're wanting to get the best outcome. You're be as efficient as you can, right? So how are you going to hold people accountable? How are you going to know that what you're doing is effective? Is it the number of patients you see? Is it the number of people that meet their goals? Is it the amount of money that you bring in to the facility per month? You know, you have to come up with how you're going to judge effectiveness. And then based on this to a degree, how can our practice and services be improved? What can we do to make it better? You always need to be looking at that, not just in a managerial standpoint. You know, the thing about it with this class, you have to think kind of from that direction. We're talking about leading others, looking at program and whether the program is effective as a whole. You know, are we getting people better? Are we serving them well? What can we do different? Now, it's a constant thing that also happens when you're a practitioner in recreation therapy. You want to ask yourself the same thing. How do I know whether what I'm doing is effective? The answer to that is, are they reaching their objectives and their goals? That tells you right there whether or not what you're doing is effective. As a practitioner also, you always want to be saying, how can our practice and services be improved? You know, you need to be a little self-critical sometimes. How did I do today in the, you know, running that group session? You know, did I get them involved? What can I do better next time? How can I keep their attention? How can I keep everybody awake? You know, whatever the case may be. But there's the two different sides of you know, looking at things being effective. You need to look at it, think of it from a managerial side for this class. But as a practitioner, you need to know that as well, that it's an ongoing, constant process. Outcome measures. Outcome measures, what this is about. They quantify data, describe performance resulting from specific interventions with specific clients. So it basically gives you a hard copy. You know, you've got your data that somebody else can look at now, right? Your outcome measures. This is what we did. These were our results. So you've got it. Somebody else can use that as evidence-based practice. You know what I mean? Like once you've put this together, you have outcome measures, and you can make a table or a chart or a narrative saying this is what we did, this is how we did it, this is how effective or ineffective it was. Now you are available to be used for evidence-based practice down the road. Outcomes evaluate if results are consistent with indicators found in evidence-based practices that you use to make your choice to do what you did. Because what you did, you need to look to see if someone else has done something similar. If they did, and it was terrible, then you probably shouldn't have done it. If it was consistently, if you can find consistent failures in what you were trying to do for you know, practice. But when you look and you see evidence-based practice, what that does, it allows you to predict how it's going to turn out, for lack of a better way to put it. And you have criteria for outcome measures. And this is something that'll be like, I could see this being potential test question type stuff. We're not going to go deep into them. You can look up these in the book. The criteria for outcome measures are relevance. How relevant are your results? The importance, you know, what is the importance of what you found from your measures? What can somebody else take from this? And attainment, what was attained? You know, what knowledge was attained? What benefit was attained? That's kind of what you're looking for on that. And that is chapter 6, with a lot of interjection about vaccines and COVID and conspiracy theories. We'll talk about aliens in the next class. And we will also get into chapter 7. And at the next class, I will bring you a test to take home with you. So get your thing turned in tonight now, that first portion. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. That's why you're turning it in pieces. But if you don't show me much effort, your score won't be as good as you want it to be. So just know that. But I'll help you fix it along the way. Y'all have a good one. What day is it today? Okay, see y'all Tuesday. Y'all have a good, safe weekend. All right, let me make sure I'm good here. I'm ready.
Okay.
See you later.
So I kind of wanted to focus my facility on adventure therapy. So if I were to do that, do you think it would be easier if I just stuck to a smaller age group?
What happened to your boy?
He had to go pick up his parents.
Oh.
Their car broke down.
Okay, sorry.
Because
Carry on.
I kind of wanted it to be like a facility where it'll serve like inpatient and outpatient programming
Mm-hmm.
from ages to like teenage years, like 16 to maybe older people. So I wanted to be like a big facility.
Yeah.
But do you think it'd be easier if I were to just do?
I don't want you to make it easier. I want you to make what you would hope for it to be.
Because I'm doing it realistically, like I don't know.
Do it for like challenge. Do it for like challenged youth.
Yeah.
Like that are from like that are having behavior issues and stuff like that. Something like that maybe.
But I kind of wanted to work more with people who have SRA injuries.
Okay.
Or trauma. Or
because then you really can get into adaptive stuff. Do that. But yeah, make it doable. With a group like that, you would have to narrow it down a little bit in age group and stuff. Your scope would have to be made smaller to be able to be effective, I would think. Don't you agree?
That's kind of, yeah, I think that's typing it out more. I'm realizing that I should just narrow it down.